we're all kind of born with a certain dharma, which that word is also thrown around a lot. And even I kind of get a little confused what it means, but I kind of see it as like your inherent nature. Like everyone has their inherent nature. And it's so powerful when you tap into what that inherent nature is and work in alignment to that. Like sometimes there are people who have that natural business acumen, and some people are naturally teachers. And if you're naturally like a teacher or a wise person, but you're trying to be someone you're not, I think you might feel like you're going against the grain, against the current. But when you tap into like what you're just born to do, you feel like you're riding the current.
Hello and welcome to the Success Sessions. My name is Jessie Johnson, coach and sales trainer to spiritual teachers who are building seven-figure businesses. And I am super, super, super honored, grateful, thrilled to have with me today one of the most amazing artists I know, Rukmini Poddar. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Jessie. I'm super honored to be meeting you and having this conversation. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I don't actually even know that I've shared this with you, but I discovered you and your name and your work like very consciously when a mutual friend of ours chastised me and my team for using one of your images without giving you credit.
Oh, wow.
And we had like seen this image, and whoever it was that we saw it on their wall, they didn't give you credit. So we weren't intentionally not giving you credit. We didn't know who you were. And Kieran Nyata like connected the dots, and I was like, oh snap, like first of all, thank you, we would love to give our artists credit. And then just diving into this world that you've created, which is, the people that I invite to come talk to me are always people who have directly influenced my success, my joy, my wealth, my abundance, my connection to God. And you are, despite this being really like our first in-person meeting, you are definitely one of those people. So I'm just super honored and grateful.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, thank you.
That's
amazing.
I want to start by asking you how you defined success as a child and how you were wrong.
Wow, that's a great question. Wow, success is such a big topic, and I feel like we can see it from so many different angles. I never thought about it though as a child, but thinking back, I think I saw success. Well, I think it matters like how young, because I can imagine as a very young child, success is very simplistic and very pure. It's just like happiness and joy and seeing my family together and all these things. And then I think as you get a little bit older, you enter the teens, there's more comparative success. I'm successful if I'm more than this person. So it's like a spectrum. But if I go back to that pure, a little bit more of a pure child, I think I felt that success was, the simple things. It's happiness, it's family, it's all the stuff that I had around me already that made me feel happy and wanting to continue that. But I can definitely see that as you get a little older, that comparative mentality just comes in and just doesn't leave. So, yeah.
Well, so that I think that's very illuminating, actually, that the way that you're describing it, it sounds like actually your first concepts of success were actually quite healthy. And then something changed and they got a little toxic.
Yeah, totally.
How do you define success now? Like as you, even in this moment, reflecting on both those parts of you, how has it evolved?
Yeah, I think both of those parts still exist. I can't say that I've now I know better and success, I have a very healthy idea of success. I think both those paradigms exist, and I can kind of swing back and forth depending on how I'm feeling in my mental state, But I guess with that knowing and just maturing a little bit, I do get a sense that success is for me personally, I feel like it's a personal feeling. And I know feelings are kind of intangible and always changing, but it is like a personal contentedness and a sense of purpose. Like I am actually giving something. I'm like what I was kind of born on this planet to do. I've kind of tapped into that dharma, that feeling. I'm able to kind of give that to others. That's a huge success. And then I think being able to maintain and sustain that, whether that's making money or just sustaining it, just having the energy to always do it. So That's what
So
I would say.
potent. I love that you're bringing in that word dharma. It reminds me of
Yeah.
this quote, which we've talked about a lot over here,
Mm,
about how, and I think this is in Bhagavad Gita, that it's better to do one's own dharma
mm.
imperfectly
Imperfectly.
than do
Yeah.
someone else's perfectly.
Yeah, which is
What
such
does
an
that mean to
interesting
you?
idea. Yeah, it's still something to wrangle with a little bit, but I think it means that we're all kind of born with a certain dharma, which that word is also thrown around a lot, and even I kind of get a little confused what it means, but I kind of see it as like your inherent nature. Like everyone has their inherent nature, and it's so powerful when you tap into what that inherent nature is and work in alignment to that. Um, like sometimes we might there are people who have that natural business acumen, and some people are naturally teachers, and if you're naturally like a teacher or a wise person, but you're trying to be someone you're not, I think you might feel like you're going against the grain, against the current. But when you tap into like what you're just born to do, you feel like you're riding the current. There's like a natural, like you're on those waves, and it's not your own pushing, you're being pulled. I feel like it's like, am I pushing to get something done, or is something pulling me? And I can say I've been thinking about that concept kind of recently, because with my art making and what I'm doing, it feels like a pulling, which I'm really grateful for. And also I say it feels like a pulling because sometimes I can't, like, it's not that I'm running after it. Sometimes I feel like it's running after me. Like I've been an artist, and I've been loving making art and creative my whole life. But maybe in the last 4 or 5 years, I've really much more intentionally been illustrating and sharing it on Instagram, to the point now I do have over 100,000 followers, and it kind of like blows my mind. And that can also be seen as success. But to be honest, I never intentionally like built that. Like I didn't have that number as a goal. I just was doing what I felt called to. But sometimes I feel like, okay, this is too much. Maybe I need to be doing something else with my life, and I just feel like I get pulled back. It's almost like my dharma is like, dude, like we didn't give you 100,000 followers for no reason. Like we didn't give you all this talent for you to run away. Like what? So when I see it like from that point of view, it's like, okay, there's something happening. It's me and some other powerful force. We're working together to have this be more successful. I'm not just pushing. I'm being pulled by another force.
This is so important. How can you share a little bit more about your personal story in terms, particularly like how that shifted? Like what has been where have you pushed in your life, and how did you figure out how to stop pushing and let yourself be pulled?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. I'll need to think about that. Where have I pushed in my life? Well, I can kind of sort of answer by saying just the journey of being pulled in this direction of now. I feel like I found a really specific niche in what I'm doing, and the creative work I'm doing, which is creating illustrations that speak about emotions, and not only speak about emotions, but encourage people to dialogue about deeper emotions and things happening in their life. And for me, it's just so amazing that I've arrived in this place, and I feel very clear on that niche of what I'm offering, because I never had that as like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do like 4 years ago. I just kind of arrived there. Even when I was young, like, it's not that I had some specific desire to speak about emotions and I was really driven. I was actually a very withdrawn kid. I felt very shy. I was very overwhelmed by emotions. If I had friends going through stuff, I didn't have the words to speak about it. I would just kind of close up. So yeah, I didn't feel like it was like this natural thing from childhood, but yet I've arrived here. So it's kind of funny.
I mean, I'm having my own kind of moment of shock, because anyone who's seen your illustrations knows you're so articulate, like visually and verbally. I think that's why it touches so many people, because you speak directly to the flavor, the quality, the intensity, even like the physical location, the energy of these emotional experiences. And it's such a generous gift, because I think that actually people don't always have that capacity to articulate it for themselves. And so then when they see your art, read the little captions that go with these illustrations, they're like, oh yes, like that's me, that's it, that's the thing that I feel. And not only does it feel really healing and nourishing to be seen and understood in that way, but I think there's a tremendous sense of belonging that happens when they're like, oh, and Rukmini doesn't even know me, but she gets me. And look, there's like 10,000 people who are also liking this image, which means they must get it also. Like there's something else happening here. How did you figure, like, I'm super fascinated by this transition.
Well,
How did
first,
you
thanks
go?
for.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that. Like, I also have. It's just funny talking about because I have like this funny out of body experience where I'm like, yeah, how did that happen? I like don't even relate with how that's happening. But I can also answer it though. I do feel like again that dharma, like we're all born with these gifts and these abilities. I can say that although it's something you develop and it's something you can strengthen, that emotional empathy, that articulation of emotion, I do feel like that was something natural in me. But I don't feel like I recognized it till much, much later, which is why as a child I didn't resonate with emotions or talking about it. I was very withdrawn. But I feel like that's what art is. It's like a voice that needs to be expressed over time. So as a child, that was all there, that the expression, it wasn't just really letting out, it wasn't expressing itself. So I feel like the beauty of art is that and creativity is that it's also like a muscle. You do express it over time and it builds. And so that's why I talk a lot about creative commitment. And I'm just a huge fan of the 100-day projects and things that get you to just show up each day and create. So 5 years ago, I did my first 100-day project. And that time before then, I was an artist, I was creating, but I never like stuck to a discipline like that. So when I did that, I got the sense of like, oh, there's a voice in me and it's coming out and it's growing stronger each day I practice it. That 100-day project was just really revolutionary for my own creative process. And I just told myself, okay, every year I'm going to do this. Even if a 100-day project takes me 300 days or takes me more, like I'm going to just commit to doing it. So 5 years later, I've somehow done it, which is crazy because I'm not a very structured, like consistent person, but somehow that's been there. And I've just seen that by showing up each day like that, that voice just got louder and just found a forum to express itself. So that's what I see has happened, like that was always inherent in me, but you need to just show up and you have to just practice opening that voice. And now I feel like that voice has strengthened. There's a platform, there's an audience, and it kind of amazes me because again, that wasn't like my knowing goal. Like I didn't know this was going to happen. It was like, okay, every day a little bit more. And I'm like, whoa, how did I make 500 pieces of art and like do all this and kind of accumulate and refine my voice in such a way? So yeah.
Did you know in that first 100-day project that you were wanting to draw emotions?
No. And my very first 100-day project, I didn't draw emotions, actually. I literally just drew abstract drawings just because I was a graphic design major and I was so tired of using my computer. I was like, I just want to use my hands. So it was literally just the physicality of just painting and just not thinking about it so much. But even that, it was just unlocking something. So it was my second year in 2016 that I started drawing emotions. And that was interesting. Again, it came from a very personal place. And I feel like the power behind that project, which I feel like still is making an impact, that 100 Obscure Emotions project, was kind of like the purity of intention, to be fully honest. Like the intention behind it solely was like, I want to understand myself better. And I'll just make a little pink drawing every single day. And in the process of being vulnerable and sharing it with others, I got immediate feedback of like, whoa, I never realized I had that emotion, or, oh my God, you're giving words to something I never felt. And that was powerful because suddenly me understanding myself was helping so many other people understand themselves. And it was that just took on a life of its own, that project.
So amazing. So, and then I want to know how that first emotion study then inspired the next years of 100 projects.
Totally. So that project was revolutionary for myself. Again, for me to understand myself, to be vulnerable, to be very real. Like I was distilling very complex emotions into very simple images. And it just kind of so quickly turned into like a style. And I think as an artist to kind of find their voice and style is really powerful. And I just like stumbled into it. And even though I could draw more complex drawings and other things, I just decided to have this specific style. And I just feel like I learned a lot personally. It was just really powerful because I just focused on my own emotions and things like that. And I remember that project actually was, I was going through a major relationship in my life, one of the first, and I think I was just trying to understand that relationship. So love is a complex thing. So there's highs and lows, and I was able to kind of map it through that project, which is, it's so funny because when people look at it now, it resonates with every person so personally, but little did they know that's like practically like my diary. I don't tell people that anymore, but that's like my relationship diary, that whole book.
Wow.
But yeah, it just helped me become so much more compassionate with myself and self-understanding. And again, it's a muscle. Like some of the stuff I wrote in that book, I can't just suddenly start writing now. Like it took, after many days and weeks of doing it, I was able to just kind of feel something very obscure and nuanced and somehow put a word to it and an image. And that was really exciting.
So powerful. I love hearing about this, and I want to hear more. I still want to hear, let me stay with the art for just another moment.
Yeah.
Like how is it unfolding now? What's your relationship to the practice of making art and this commitment as you're much more situated now? Is that true?
It's true in a way of like I'm more established as an artist. Before I didn't even consider myself an illustrator. I was a graphic designer and I would do this on the side just for my own sense of like, you know, my own passion project. It wasn't like a thing I was very intentionally cultivating. That didn't happen until very recently, actually, even to be like, I think I want to turn this into a business. And even that, I have a whole relationship because there's that inner tension for an artist of wanting to be authentic, but also you want to get it out there, but then you fear of selling out or even fear of money and fear of, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm going to lose that purity as an artist? So there's a lot of inner tension in that. And I can say, well, I think what you're asking is how is the relationship in art making changed now? Like, how do I see it? And I think it's similar, but there's a little bit of, there's different challenges that come up because now I have a much bigger audience and that's really exciting. And that I feel like the potential of what I can do is greater, but I can lose that kind of creative fearlessness of I'm just going to put whatever crap out there because that's real for me. And suddenly you get a little bit more curated, a little bit, oh, but what do my audience want? And it's great to serve the audience, but then where does that pure self-expression come into play? So sometimes I won't post things that are half done or half baked like I used to because, you know, it has to be a certain consistent style and everything. So I go back and forth of it really comes down to finding that authenticity of creation.
I mean, as I listen to you, I have my own tension because in my body, I feel like I wish for you to be as unapologetic and vulnerable as you've always been, in me, because so much of what I'm getting from both your art before we met, but also deepening as I listen to you, is that it is your vulnerability, it is your willing to kind of expose yourself in all the messy or unfinished or raw states that has actually gotten you to this point.
Yeah.
So I think it's a real question in me. Do you feel like you have to shift that? Do you feel that needs to change in order to continue to serve your audience? Or is it just that you have to continue to recommit to sort of burying your soul, even though it's vulnerable?
Right. Such a good point. I think deep down I don't have to, because what I'm offering and what I'm giving is myself. And I think if it's powerful for me, it'll be powerful for someone else. I think there's little nuances in how I can grow what I'm doing, or I mean, I'm not the business expert, but like even monetize and things like that. My mind is suddenly like, okay, but you have to change. I don't know. This is kind of maybe where you come in and where you can help me out. This is something I'm still navigating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I will share on a personal level, in my experience, part of what I love hearing about and just having this conversation with you, I think everyone that I speak to and interview has some relationship to creativity because it's such a human trait. But I think that actually you're my first guest who's just an artist. Like that's the identification that you claim. And I feel myself that my artistry, my identity as an artist got covered up for a really long time. And through the process of creating this business, it's kind of been rediscovered. And that the more that I devote myself, in almost word for word what you said, the more that I devote myself to that like spark of feeling called in a certain direction, specifically around aesthetics, specifically around words, specifically around like the part of me that has that artistic lens, the better, the more successful the business is. And I think that part of that is because I feel more fully expressed. I feel more free. I feel more myself. I feel more self-satisfied. I think it's also, to your point, it's because I'm more like those things, those little whisperings of creative inspiration are the divine calling us.
Yeah.
So it is our responsibility, exactly what you said, to listen to those things and pay attention to them. And I think I don't know if this is going to work in language, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
Specifically in the last 6 months, I feel like it's like really kind of something's clicked into place where I'm like, no, really, that's the only thing that's working in my business.
The creative expression?
The alignment piece, the like alignment to the Dharma. And yes, creative expression is a lens to look at that through. It's like if it as an artist, I just knew what the thing wanted to be. I remember reading about Michelangelo and how like the David was in the stone and he was just revealing it. That's always been my experience of art making, is that the idea comes and it's like, well, I can get all the critiques in the world on, I was a filmmaker, so I can get all the critiques on my abstract animation, but like, I know what it wants to be. And my job is to make it that thing.
Yeah.
So the business has aspects of that. Social media, frankly, Instagram is like a place where that happens. YouTube is a place where that happens, right? My filmmaker self is getting to geek out in a new way as we make more artistic media. Marketing, like just as an example, like for me, marketing, sort of traditional marketing I don't know anything about it. I've never been good at it. As I've hired people to help me with it, it doesn't seem to work very well. It's like, I'm an artist, not a marketer.
Yeah.
So I need to like produce whatever content we're producing as an artist, because that's what I am.
Wow.
And allowing myself to get free to choose that, even if someone might suggest that, like, from a business standpoint, perhaps it would be more strategic to do something else. Like, it's not true. When it comes to living our Dharma, when it comes to businesses that are that personal, and not everybody's business is, but if your business is, your impulse is the only thing that matters.
Yeah, that's real. That like hits deep. That's so reassuring to hear that. Because I think that's the part where we feel like, am I losing myself? Am I losing my soul? Because we create something so personal, we're giving it to the world, but then we feel like it has to be done in a certain way, and things aren't like going to be impactful enough unless it's marketed in a certain way. And I think that's the part where, like you said, it's you. Like you got it. You just show up how you need to show up. You deliver it the way it's already envisioned in yourself. And that's what's authentic, and that's what makes us feel alive. Otherwise, otherwise it's boring. If it doesn't feel like it's really coming from you. Yeah,
exactly. And so I am inspired every time, literally every time. If anyone listening to this has not already gone on Rukmini's Instagram, like go immediately. You cannot help but be taken on the ride of the transmission, Rukmini, that you create. Wow. It's just so potent, so immediate. And so, I totally want to fight for you, like prioritizing your own creative impulse, because I trust it.
Thanks. And it's funny, like even when the whole world is trusting and supporting us, we have to really trust our own impulse and just prioritize that. And that itself is a journey. I feel like for me, it's always been something on the side I've been doing, and now trying to like claim it as like, this is what I want to put my energy in. It's both exciting, and then the doubt comes in, and then it's the whole thing to really claim it and see it as valuable as other people are seeing it. It's like, why am I not seeing that?
Wait, do you have an answer to that?
Hi. It could just be my own sense of like high standards, or my own, like we all have our inner critiques or inner critics that talk down to things. I think about that very famous quote by, I forgot, like we don't see, what's it like, we're more powerful than we think. The woman,
Marianne Williamson.
Yes, you read my mind. Exactly. Yeah. And that quote, that our light, that's what we're afraid of, our light shining so big. I remember when I first read that, I was so taken aback just hearing that perspective, and it just felt so true. And I think almost anyone who comes across that quote resonates in that same way of like, wow, what we fear is our light shining so bright, because we almost think, who am I to shine that bright? And feel about my art. Like, I'm so touched when people say, literally, sometimes it's like, your art like has changed my life, or like, this has so deeply impacted me. And I'm like, I'm grateful, thank you. And somehow it just, it can so easily go over my head. It's so hard to claim that kind of significance.
Yes. I think this is, you know, we spoke about this a little bit on our Instagram chat as we prepared for this. I think it would be really, I know for sure people are listening to this, and if they have looked at your Instagram page, they're already comparing themselves to you. Like, Rukmini has over 100,000 followers, therefore she's not like me. Like, she can do it, but I can't. That people, that's just like the default setting, that we compare ourselves, evaluate who's on top. And if we land on the bottom, we make ourselves less. And if we land on top, we puff ourselves up in this bizarre way. It's like, it's all this mental drama. And I think one of the things that's so powerful is your willingness to say, like, yeah, I have 100,000 followers and I still worry about this stuff. Like,
yeah, I almost feel like it's my responsibility to say that, actually, because I feel like you said, people can get so, that comparison game is so like harmful and really hurtful. And I feel like I felt that seeing other people's art, and it would have really helped to have someone just be like more available, or just the minute I can kind of put down my guard and put down that image of like 100,000 followers or this artist or whatever, you become so much more approachable to someone. And for me, that's just a huge value in my art itself. I want my art to be extremely approachable. Like, that's why when you say anyone who sees Rukmini's art, they immediately resonate. It's like, yes, then it's done its job, because that's the goal. And so as an artist, I want to also portray myself in that way, as just approachable and not on some pedestal, or not this person who you just can't reach. And I think that's just so human. And that's just, if I leave any kind of legacy behind in my art or anything like that, it's just that humanness. Like, we all like this collective human connection. Like, we're not so different. Emotions are universal. We all feel it. And so that's why I kind of feel strongly like it's almost a responsibility to, not that I kind of put myself so down, and, you know, it's like a little bit of a dance to navigate how to really claim that power, but also not be like taken by it.
Yes.
But yeah, that's why it's important for me to share that.
Thank you. I'm curious if you was there ever a moment, specifically looking at your Instagram followers, where you had a glitch? Like, did you just kind of like, oh, okay, this is more followers, or was it like, wait, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. It's so funny. For the longest time, I mean, when I did my first 100-day project, my second, my third, I had an average of like 1,000 to 2,000 followers. Like, it wasn't that much at all. I was relatively unknown, but I still kind of kept going. And I remember, I think it was 2018, where it just jumped. I did this 100-day project on the Enneagram. Are you familiar on the
Yes.
Oh, that we can have a whole other conversation on. That was an interesting project, because I was just like, oh my God, spellbound by the Enneagram, which for anyone who doesn't know, it's like a powerful, powerful personality typing system. I learned about myself. It gave so much deeper meaning to the art I create when I just understand the nuances of human behavior and motivation. So anyway, I did a 100-day project on it, and my understanding was that no one knew the Enneagram. People are going to unfollow me, like, and I just didn't care. I was like, I love the Enneagram. I'm doing a 100-day project on the Enneagram. And literally that during those 100 days, I went from like 3,000, maybe 4,000 followers to like 29,000 followers. And it blew my mind. I like tapped into the secret society of Enneagram lovers online. And that I really had like a cannot compute moment. I remember, and then one day, Jay Shetty, who was like a mutual friend at the time, and he shared a few of my drawings, and it was crazy. I doubled my followers overnight from 4,000 to 8,000. And I had a moment of like, I am famous. Famous, what do I do? So that was the peak. Since then, it's kind of been like, yeah, it's whoa, what, surreal. But it hit me like in my body, my mind. I was like, 10,000 followers.
I love that story. I mean, you know, I also think we can have more conversations about this. There's so much more to talk about, but I want to highlight the themes of, again, unapologetic claiming of your vision, your desire, that you didn't come at the Enneagram focus because you thought it would get you to 10K followers. Opposite. You chose it. Yeah. You were like, I don't care if anyone pays attention. Yeah. I don't care if I lose followers. I'm doing this project. That's how strong the pull is. That's one thing. The second theme is that actually you did tap into something that was like there was a currency.
Yeah.
And I think I want to propose that that's actually what our those callings are doing to us. They're pointing us in the direction of higher service, greater service, however that shows up. And the third is the power of collaboration.
Yeah.
That Jay like was excited about what you were doing, shared it with his community, and immediately doubled your followers. I mean, Jay's a particularly famous and impactful kind of guy, but any kind of collaborate, like what we're doing right now, this kind of collaboration, I think it's at the heart of how we like kind of stand. I picture us like standing back to back. We're talking to each other like in the conversation, but on an energetic level, we're back to back and we're shining our hearts out into the world. And that support that we get in collaboration gives us like strength to rest more, feel that we're supported, we're a part of something. And it can happen in the smallest thing, in a new relationship, in someone sharing a post. And so I like that part of the story.
Yeah. I love that too, because it's such a different image than competition and comparison. It's so different, the energy, just the way you're talking about it. It's like, I don't want that. I want that. I want the collaboration.
Yes. Yeah. You know, I will share, I had a big insight about, because in this mindset work that I've been studying for the last, like very explicitly for the last 5 years, let's say, there is no competition. That's the teaching. There's no competition. It's an illusion. It's a lie. It's something that our subconscious minds come up with to keep us from growing. But it's not real. So I had the intellectual understanding, but I was still feeling it, right? Like I would look on social media and I would see someone, I'd be like,
so real.
I should be, I don't know, this person has, actually, even with Jay, I had that with Jay. And this is, now I'm taking us on another tangent, but I had this beautiful conversation with him. Sri and I were in London in November, and he happened to be there to spend some time with Radhanath Swami. And we ran into each other at the airport. Jay and I were on the same flight from LA to London, and he ended up driving us to our hotel. And on that drive, I asked him all the questions that I hadn't had a chance to ask him about his own relationship to his work. And as I listened to him, I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, thank God Jay's doing it, because I sure don't want to. And it was so liberating for me, because I think at some level I really had been subtly comparing myself to him, feeling like I wasn't measuring up because I don't have 4 million views on all of my YouTube videos. Right. And as I listened to him, I was like, oh no, we have different dharma. Like we're here for different reasons, and we're both doing great. Again, back to back, we're shining our lights out. That was a huge liberation.
It sounds like, I mean, just even me hearing that, it's so nice, because we're like wired for competition, truly. And social media, like that's what it fosters, really. And so we're just so used to like, comparing in that way, rather than thinking that we have different offerings, which is so nice.
Yes. And that it is it's those offerings are like pieces of a puzzle or something. We work together to complete the picture. So the last image that I'll share on this is that when I was a math teacher in New York City public schools for 12 years before starting this business. And when I had my own classroom for the first 7 years of that 12 years, I had a math department, right? I wasn't the only math teacher. There were like maybe 8 of us. And they were my crew. Like my team, they were my besties at work. Wow. We collaborated on everything. We talked about everything. We went into each other's classrooms. We had, I think, pretty exceptional relationships. I don't think every math department has it as good as we did. But there was, I mean, I can't remember ever did we feel competitive about like whose students we had, right? We were never trying to get more students.
Totally.
The way that as artists, entrepreneurs, visionaries, we try to get more followers. Like, we really were living this back-to-back collaborative. We just like all hands on deck. If we can get 10 more teachers in here, that'd be better. And so when I made that connection, and I was like, that's what we're doing. It's like there's a department in the world, unofficial, of coaches, transformational leaders, artists, whatever, and we're all in the same department. Those people can actually be our best collaborators. Like my math department at my high school, we were closer than we were to the global history teachers or the Spanish teachers, because we knew so deeply what we were working on. We were better positioned to help each other. So I just want to throw that out there, that like all the people that we feel the tendency to want to compare ourselves to are probably actually our best collaborators. They're our best, like, fellow team, fellow department of the world, you know?
Yeah. It's so nice to see it like that, to see that global team or that bigger team.
Yes, global team.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm super excited that you are on my global team.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I'm excited to know I have a team. Sometimes I forget.
Yes. Well, speaking of which, what can my team, but also like our viewers, our audience, what can we do to help you?
Oh, that's sweet. Wow, I'm not quite sure, except be yourselves, see my art, give some love. Yeah. If there's any art that I do, anything specific that resonates with you, tell me, because I'm in the place of where I'm wanting to write more books and create more stuff. And when I know what people are listening to, what they're really resonating with, what they want more of, that's always helpful. It's always helpful. That's
I love that. So yeah, everyone follow Rukmini on Instagram. The handle is Rockin' Ruski, right?
Yes, except it's Ruksi. So it's RUKSI.
Yeah. and I mean, this is, I feel like, I guess we can frame it as a win-win, because the truth is anyone that follows you is going to get so much from following you. That it's not, I'm like, I almost can't even say sincerely, like, do this for Rukmini. It's like, no, do this for yourself. And in the process, engage and comment and share which posts resonate, what hits you, like, use it to, I feel inspired actually, Rukmini, to kind of raise the standard on the way that we feel when we're engaging with social media.
That's really nice.
And you're just naturally doing that, because every post you make is such an invitation, a welcome. So
thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. I could just keep picking your brain for hours. Same,
it's mutual.
Super grateful that we had this time together, and really can't wait for the next installment. I'm excited to see what that wants to be.
So thanks, Jessie. I feel the same. This is one of many more conversations.
Yeah.
Just like talking to an old friend.
Yes. Well, and actually, I will say one more thing about this. Because hearing you say that, I'm like, oh, there's one more lesson in our meeting that I think is relevant for people. I think that I maybe had reached out to you before the Black Lives Matter kind of conversation got real big in June. I think maybe we were already talking about it. Yeah. But that just it was like, like more diversity in my life, more diversity in this conversation. I want that. But I was intimidated to reach out to you. Like, I didn't know you. We had stolen your art by accident. You know, it was like, I don't know if Rukmini is gonna like want to give me the time of day.
Yeah.
Because I don't have 100,000 followers, and maybe she won't think that this is a worthwhile collaboration. You know, it was like all that noise was there. And I just was willing to reach out anyway. I've gotten better at being willing to put myself out there. And of course, immediately you were like, hey, like, so welcoming, so humble, so available. And so I want to share that part of the story too, to remind people, you know, that when they feel drawn to someone on social media, when it comes from an authentic and sincere place, it's like, take action, go connect with people, especially during this pandemic time when we're so much harder to connect physically, to use it to go deeper virtually.
Totally. Thanks, Jesse. That's super sweet. I mean, just to hear that from your perspective, and for me, I can say I'm equally grateful because it's also the lesson in giving, and but also in giving, I'm getting so much is what I mean. Because sometimes, and for me during the pandemic, I've become a little bit more hermit-like. So I see with my energy, I can be a little bit more like, oh, I don't know if I have energy to do Instagram Live or this or that. But like just knowing that, again, collaboration is where energy comes. And I'm super, super grateful that you invited me for this and that we've connected, because I feel that just that enrichment, that new connection. And yeah, for me to also just like not be a miser with my own words and energy. Like I get a lot. It's not that I'm just doing someone a favor by having this conversation. I get so much. And so it's really important for me to remember that too.
Mm-hmm. So juicy.
Yeah.
All of you guys watching, thanks so much for being here, listening. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let us know what you're taking from this, your biggest insights, your favorite moments, your questions, the things that you're going to put into practice as a result of this conversation. I read every single comment and respond. And if anything comes up specifically for Rukmini, I'll make sure that she sees it. So let us know how this affects you. And if there's someone that you feel like would really benefit from hearing this conversation, of course, share. So grateful to have you here. Thank you again, Rukmini, for your time. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jesse.